Right then, hello everyone, welcome to episode number 21 of my Blackburn Rovers Football Manager 2017 save. And for some reason I've just realised I've got my headphones on. Right, so those of you guys that watched the previous episode will know that I promised more episodes, more frequent episodes. And about that, so I was planning to do them on Wednesday, get one up on Wednesday, and then I had to go to the Blackburn Leeds match after work, where Blackburn obviously lost 2-1 in real life, and I've kind of got a Blackburn Rovers season ticket, so it's not really something I could have dodged, even though given how shit Blackburn are at the moment and how poor our performance was, I probably would have been better off staying at home and watching my Blackburn rather than the real Blackburn. And then Thursday was always going to be a tough one as well because I play five-a-side on a Thursday, and obviously that was yesterday. And the reason why I couldn't record a episode after five-a-side was because I sprained my ankle. So my ankle's currently still sprained, and ironically, it might actually work out for the best of the entire series because I can't really move much at the moment. It's taken crutches for me to be able to move. Crutches. And yeah, because I can't really... Oh, there goes one. Because I can't really move much at the moment, I guess I'm kind of stuck, sat down in front of a computer, which in theory means wasting time playing Football Manager. Alright, here we go then. Enough about me, more about the save. So obviously the last episode we saw highlights of a 2-0 loss against the current defending champions in the form of Arsenal. Obviously that was meant to be a live com, but it never ended up being a live com because I recorded a live com and forgot to turn my microphone on, so it became a tactical video where we just saw the highlights. Next up we had Crystal Palace at home. Now we beat away from home early on in the season, and to be fair, it was a tough game, but we did it in the end. Crystal Palace probably the better of the two sides, but you know you're in good form when you can still be that worst side and somehow manage to come out the game with all 3 points. Benteke took the lead first for Crystal Palace, but then Danny Graham levelled things up. It was nice to see a goal from him, considering he's not scored in a while. And then, out of the blue, 83rd minute, subbed Conway on, passed the ball to Kedira, and what a strike that was from the Algerian international to win the game. And from that point onwards, it was kind of really just part of the bus for us. Then we had a game against Rochdale in the third round of the FA Cup. We went for quite a heavily rotated side, obviously. But unfortunately, Kedira, despite scoring a goal in the 18th minute, as some people will know, he's kind of injury prone. He's 32 years old, and he has unfortunately, ironically, sprained his ankle. That's actually really weird. I should have seen that as a sign. He sprains his ankle, then I sprain my ankle. But yeah, he has sprained his ankle, so he's out for 4 to 5 weeks, which is kind of problematic for us because he's kind of the best box-to-box midfielder we have, and it kind of means that, well, yeah, I don't really feel like any of our other central midfielders really fit that box-to-box role, and we've barely got any money to spend this January, so I guess I'm going to have to keep my eye out in the loan market, but we did beat Rochdale 3-1. Nice to see that, you know, we didn't obviously crumble under the pressure of being the overdogs. And then we were at home against Sunderland. Now, Sunderland early on in the season, we drew 2-2. Very, very tough game, to be honest. It's always tough to play, I think, against David Moyes teams because they play the 4-1-4-1 or the 4-3-3 with very defensive wingers, and they just basically get so many players behind the ball. Hope Akpan opened the scoring in the 11th minute, and I was really happy to see that he actually opened the scoring because he was the player I used to replace Kedira in the box-to-box midfielder role. He, of course, occupied that role for us last season when we finished second in the Championship, and it was nice to see that not only did he deliver the goods in the Premier League in that role, but he also scored a goal, which was nice. Andre Gray then made it 2 just before half-time on the 26th. Well, that's not really just before half-time, is it? But yeah, in the first half. So we went into half-time 2-0 up, and then he added insult to injury in the 91st minute and finished the game off to give us a 3-0 lead. So, brilliant league form we're in at the moment. Bar that loss against Chelsea, we've been unbeaten since before Christmas, which is pretty cool. And hopefully we can use this to our advantage. The next two games that I'm going to be covering in this video are going to be a game away at Newcastle, who of course finished top of the Championship last season, who got promoted just ahead of us, who are also doing very well this season, and then West Brom at home, and it's going to be a televised evening game as well. And the reason why I think they're going to be two really decent games to cover is because West Brom and Newcastle are both 8th and 9th, so they're kind of teams in a very similar predicament to us. And if we are going to try and challenge for that Europa League spot, particularly with teams like Southampton and Watford still floating around that area, I think they're going to be two really important games for us. Two games that could be season defining this early on, in my opinion. Just before we head into the game, I have made a signing. The question is, who is that signing? It's Mohamed Traore from Africa Sports. Now, he's only 18. We only paid 250k for him. There's the odd clause here and there, but it won't really end up being more than 300-400k in the long run. The only downside is that he's Ivorian. He's from the Ivory Coast, which means we couldn't secure him a work permit. Now, that then meant that I went to my board, had a word with him and said, look guys, this is a decent talent. You've given me barely any money to spend, so we need to sign this guy up, because in the future, the idea is if he can get some kind of European nationality somewhere, bar being Ivory Coastrian, yeah, Ivory Coastian? Ivorian. Yeah, I just read Ivorian. So yeah, bar being Ivorian, then we might be able to get him a work permit once he's like 20, 21, 22 and has fully developed. It's kind of a shame that he can't develop with us, because he'd probably develop slightly better, but I still think he has a lot of potential. So what do I want to look at? I want to look at our affiliate clubs. So Leicester SK are the team I affiliated ourselves with. They are a Belgiumish. I'd struggle with Belgish? I don't know. They're a team from Belgium. Yeah, we'll go ahead with that. And yeah, the idea is just to basically send players on loan to them. It's that simple. And I think there's a rule or something in Belgium where if a player is fluent in French and he lives in Belgium for 2 or 3 years, he actually gains the Belgium passport. So if we take a look at Mohamed Traore, if we can find him, he is from the Ivory Coast, and he's also fluent in French. So the idea is, now that he's in, if we can actually, in fact, I think we can do it now. Can we move him now? Move to affiliate. Yeah, let's. So what we're going to do is move him to Leicester SK. Ideally, play him as a striker. We'll send him there until the end of the season for now. But yeah, so why did I sign this guy? That's the question at hand right now. So I'd say the only downside about him is he's very one-footed. But for an 18-year-old, I feel like physically he's actually phenomenal. I think he can still improve. I think players really keep improving until they're the age of 23. Now, this guy's determination ain't great. It's a shame I can't get someone to tutor him, but I'll show you exactly why I signed him now. So if we compare him to our danger man, our top scorer in the form of Andre Gray at the moment, you can see how similar they are. So when you consider that Andre Gray is 26 years old, and you look at their attributes, Traore is actually better physically in certain areas to Andre Gray. I've been calling Traore. If Toure can maybe, as he grows a little bit older from 18, which will naturally happen, his strength will improve a little bit, his physical stats will still improve a little bit, and if he can just improve the technical side of his game just a little bit, because even if you look at these poor attributes here, 10 heading, well, Andre Gray's only got 12 heading, 11 dribbling, Andre Gray's only got 12 dribbling, 12 finishing, yeah, that's something that could be improved, 13 composure, not too bad. So if you look at this, there's actually not that much between Andre Gray and Mohamed Traore. So the plan kind of is, if this Toure guy can keep on developing. Now, I don't know. It depends how well we go forward as a club. This guy, by the time he gets good, might actually be better than the standard which I expect from my players right now, which means he may never break into the first team. So worst case scenario, we'll make a hell of a lot of profit on him. But that's why I signed him. We had a limited budget. There's a lot of other regens I've got my eye on, but unfortunately just not enough money to sign him. So yeah, hopefully you guys can see why I signed this guy. And I'd say the only things I'm kind of disappointed right now about are his determination and work rate. Not really ideal, but again, we can make profit on him, I think. I don't know why I can't talk properly today. He's only on 800 quid a week, so it's not really that much money. And I'm pretty confident if we send him to Belgium, he'll start performing. So a really good signing for us. Also, given that it is transfer season, I think it's only fair that I discuss not only incomings, but outgoings as well. No idea why our tactical familiarity's dropped kind of a little bit there. That's a bit of a weird one. Probably might have to work on that in training then. So yeah, players going out. I'm trying to get rid of Derek Williams. All he's kind of done is moan. Can't really blame him. For me, he's not Premier League standard. We brought in 2 left-backs in the summer, so it's only natural that he's behind, and we brought in a centre-back, so it's only natural that he's pretty far down the pecking order. He wants to leave. As far as I'm concerned, he can leave. It's just a case of whether he can find a club that's willing to take him. He's got some clubs looking at him. Karlsruhe, however you pronounce that as well, which is kind of understandable given that he can speak fluent German. So, yeah, he probably won't be too bothered about moving to Germany. And, of course, another player we're looking to get rid of is Elliot Ward. Paul Lambert signed him not long ago. You can see he barely played for me in the Championship. Pretty injury-prone in real life as well. Not really seeing much of him in real life. You know what? It's actually making me wonder whether he's even still a Blackburn player because he's been gone for so long. I think he is injured in real life. But yeah, we're trying to get rid of him. Not really quite too sure who's going to take him off our hands, but we'll have to wait and see. Contract-wise, we can see we've got quite a few players whose contracts expire in the summer. Liam Feeney, 30 years old, on a fair bit of money as well. To be honest, I'd rather just let his contract expire at the end of the season and then maybe let Mahoney take his place. Now, Mahoney's not really developed the way I think I wanted him to develop, and that's kind of understandable because he's kind of been on loan quite a lot, and at the moment he's only really just playing in the Scottish Premiership, so I don't really think he's Premier League standard either. His contract also expires, so even though, you know, he's a Blackburn fan, he went to secondary school, basically, a 5-minute walk from my house and all that, and, you know, you want to keep local players. At the end of the day, football's football, so we'll have to wait and see whether or not he will be good enough. Back to squad or tactics or squad or wherever the hell the contracts are. Next up is Elliot Bennett. Decent player, unfortunately, 29 years old. That's not really too bad. He's quite versatile as well, but I feel like he's going to be very difficult to fit into the side once I make more and more signings. But at the same time, he's not played that much for us so far this season, but he played a bit last season. Did pretty well, and even the few times where he's had to play for us in the Premier League this season, he's done pretty okay as well. The only reason why I'm not too sure with regards to whether it would be a good idea to renew his contract or not is because I feel like he's going to ask for more money, and he does kind of moan a fair bit about first-team football, and to be honest, he's just not good enough for first-team football, so it might be for the best of the club, you know, just to get rid of him. Next up, we've got Jason Lowe, a player who... Don't let me get started about his passing ability in real life. But on Football Manager, fortunately for years, he's actually been quite a decent player. Was quite an important part of our side in the Championship, but unfortunately in the Premier League, he just doesn't cut it for me. He's on a fair amount of money as well, 15k a week. He's meant to be our captain. Not really, but yeah, so he's a player we might get rid of as well. It's kind of annoying because it's kind of like he's worth a fair amount of money, you know what I mean? I feel like we could flog him, and I might try and flog him this transfer window, maybe on deadline day, and see if we can get someone to overpay for him. If someone will pay 1.5, 2 million for him, given that he's only got 6 months left on his contract, they can have him, to be honest. But at the moment, I really don't want to do that because obviously Khadura's injured, and that would leave us kind of low on central midfielders. So even though we only play 2 in the middle of the park, sometimes Lenihan covers at centre-back, and we need depth in that area. But yeah, that's it. Transfer season. We've discussed incomings, we've discussed outgoings, and talking about outgoing, let's go out to St James's Park and face Rafa Benitez's Newcastle. Right then, everyone. Hello, welcome to St James's Park, where the good old rivalry with Rafa Benitez continues. And obviously, the reason why I say there's a rivalry is because, yeah, they finished first in the Championship last season. We finished second, and yeah, they beat us once. We then beat them. So Newcastle, at least recently, has kind of turned into a bit of a rivalry. But it's very easy to see why Newcastle, despite only getting promoted last season, are in the top half of the Premier League, because their side is really quite phenomenal. And fair play to Rafa, he actually changed his starting lineup from his normal starting lineup to try and counteract us. And I think it's going to be very tough to break them down, particularly because they are at home. And doing some research like I always do before every game, which helps a fair bit, they've actually got the second best home form in the league. So based on that, I'd probably be happy with coming away from St James's Park with a draw. Dare I say it, I'm probably not even expecting to win, even though we are fifth in the league, which on its own is still pretty good, considering we got promoted from the Championship last season. So what have I done to try and counteract things? Well, we're going to be quite negative. Opposition instruction-wise, we've taken off the offside trap and we've dropped our defensive line a fair bit, simply because Matt Ritchie, Gigliotti and Victor Rodriguez offer quite a bit of pace. Talking about pain, we're going in hard on Victor Rodriguez because he's got quite poor strength. He's quite a small guy, and yeah, I just want to try and, get stuck into him. There's no point really trying to single any other player out on this Newcastle side, because you look at Diame and Saivet, who have like 40 odd strength between the two of them. Well, it won't be 40 odd, 35 plus odd strength between the two of them. Member normally plays centre-back for Newcastle. He's been moved to right back as well, because we are playing with two up front. Rafa's looking for a physical game. So I think this is going to be one of them games where we're going to have to chop and change as things happen, if you know what I mean, like we've had to deal with in the past. I think our best approach to this game could very well be to try and play really on the counter-attack, and to try and keep the ball in the middle of the park, try and play through the middle like we do a fair bit, try and keep things a little bit narrow, because, and I've got it here on my notes, conceded a lot of crosses. Newcastle have conceded a ridiculous amount of crosses so far this season. I think that they were like 17th or something like that in the number of crosses they've conceded so far this season. And I kind of weren't expecting that, given that Member had obviously moved to right back and he's got a fair amount of pace on him. But from that Charlie Mulgrew set piece, it does seem like we found an opener in the form of Andre Gray. So for that reason, I'm just going to tell the lads to tighten up a little bit. And it's important for us to keep on winning the ball in the air. It's a very physical Newcastle side, and to try and hold on to the ball as much as possible, because they've got the pace to counter-attack like that. So it's important that we keep that defensive line, keep our shape and so on, hold on to the ball, frustrate Newcastle, and try not to hoof the ball forward like that. But it seems like Gouffran's actually caught out Dummett. Saivet, though, tackles Danny Graham, and Newcastle mount an attack forwards. They've got that extra man in midfield, which is giving them that extra passing option. And we can see kind of an issue we have here. So because they've got that extra man in midfield, they've always got that extra passing option. So we can match the guy on the wing. Should this guy push forward, the left back can pick him up, and then this guy can pick this guy up. The main issue for us here is, though, the amount of players that they've got centrally and how easy it is for them to get the ball forward there. So we could very well concede from here. Maybe not. A part of me is tempted to change things around already, because I am seeing dangerous signs, and I do feel like we are fortunate to have taken a 1-0 lead. Sorry if I keep seeing the cursor pop up in the middle of the screen, but I've got so many things going through my head at the moment, and I'm trying to wonder whether to change it or not. The thing is though, we've actually had a fair amount of success playing that ball direct forward from what I've seen. But you know what they say, it's kind of something that I kind of live by. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. So for that reason, we're going to try and just contain. Newcastle have been the better side, and I think we're going to go into this second half looking to try and hold on to the lead. So it's important now, calmly tell the guys not to get complacent. Danny Graham's going to come off. Danny Graham's very hot and cold. so far in the Premier League. He's still got 8 goals to his name, though, so he is putting a shift in. But I think it is possible that Nabil Ghilas may take his place come next season. So, as discussed, Andre Gray is going to now become a lone striker. And we're actually going to move Corey Evans into midfield as a... in fact, what we'll do is we'll put Lenihan on defend. And, yeah, we'll go with Corey Evans on defend as well. We'll stick with a counter mentality. We want to slow the game down ourselves. And, yeah, we'll go from there. Right, so here we go. Mbemba with the throw-in as Newcastle look to build up an attack. Richie picks a ball up down the right wing as he finds Saver centrally. And let's take a quick look at our shape. So Lenihan is just trying to protect, you know, the space between the back four and midfield. Corey Evans is hanging back. And the problem with this is it seems like Hope Akpan now, the box-to-box, is really the only one applying pressure to Newcastle's two-man midfield. So we might look to change Corey Evans, but we're going to concede. We've conceded, right, flipping heck, 46th minute, right. So Evans, for me, wasn't applying enough pressure in midfield. We're going to change Lenihan to support as well. We can't sit back now, flipping heck. Really frustrated by that, actually, because normally I always start the second half defensive because I hate conceding. I hate conceding at the start of each half. And look who it is, Victor Rodriguez as well. Ugh, very pacey player. Disappointing how we conceded that goal. Let's take a quick look at whose fault it was. To be fair, I mean, how did save it? He was doing it in the first half as well. So Akpan tried to close Morosini down. That left Saver open, and that's that triangle in midfield that I knew was always going to cause us problems in the second half. But, you know, there's time to change this. And like I said, I'd kind of still be happy coming away with a draw, but I do want to change this game. So it looks like we've improved things. So we'll demand more from the players. What are we going to try and change around right now? Probably nothing until Rafa Benitez plays his hand. So take a quick look at the formation. Aarons has come on at left wing. And, yeah, very pacey player as well. But the thing is, not that much strength on him. But it's always that gamble, you know. You want to push forward, but against such pacey players like that, especially given how slow our defence is, our two centre-backs in particular, I really don't want to... So, question at hand is, how are we going to try and change this? I feel like Craig Conway should come on the left. He won't offer us that much physically, but he always seems to have that extra bit of quality on the ball, if you know where I'm coming from. What else are we going to change? We're going to make Evans our box-to-box midfielder. And I'm actually going to just bite the bullet and bring on Yaya Sanogo. So if we take a look at Newcastle's formation, can we go with the wide target man approach with the approach that we went with last season? Very, very difficult. Just look at these physicals on some of these Newcastle players. It's going to be really tough. I'm not even sure how effective it's going to be to bring on Sanogo and try and go direct, you know. Well, forget Sanogo for now. We'll stick with a three-man midfield. What I'm actually going to do is, right, I'm going to move Gouffran into the middle of the park, and I'm going to bring on Elliot Bennett simply because of the pace that he can offer. And we're going to go from there. So Sanogo's not going to get a game, probably for the best, to be honest, because he's not exactly been great so far this season in the Premier League, even though he was an absolute beast for us in the Championship. And it does seem like this very well could end up just being a 0-0. 5 minutes to go, no point pushing up, pushing forward, and then ending up losing this game. Bit of a boring game, to be honest, but again, it's another instance where we've come to St James's Park. Newcastle are the second best team in the league at home, and a point really... it's a point gained. That's the way I see it. I'll just tell the guys, I'm not really happy with what I've seen. Dumic on a 6.4, looking stressed. Couldn't care less, to be honest. And that does mean we drop down to 6th. It means Newcastle remain in 9th place. But as you can see, that point boosts us up to 39 points. And obviously 40 points is the mark that we wanted for safety. And it does obviously look like we're going to achieve that. And there's still more than enough football to be played for us to maybe creep into the to the top 4, even though I'll be more than happy with finishing the season in 6th place. So that's going to be it for the St James's Park game. Kind of disappointed, but you know what? Let's keep this unbeaten run going. Forget the Arsenal game. It's a good result for me up against the team that's the second best home side in the league. And now we're on TV against West Brom at Ewood Park. So our home form has been really good recently. Let's see if we can keep that up against Tony Pulis' side. Right then, hello everyone and welcome to Ewood Park. So, we're up against West Brom. Now, this is a game I really want to win. Not just because, obviously, they're pretty close to us in the table and getting 3 points here would really spark off the second half of the season for us, but also because West Brom beat us, I think it was 3-0 or 3-1 early on in the season, so I feel like it's time for revenge. So with regards to what we're changing, we're starting off as defensive as always, but rather than change at the 10th minute, we're going to change at the 15th minute, simply because West Brom have scored most of their goals in the first 15 minutes of most of their games. I was quite surprised by the fact that Pulis went with a 4-1-4-1, which shows that they're perhaps going to be looking to retain possession a little bit better, because their pass completion ratio is amongst the worst in the Premier League, and for that reason I've decided to tell the guys to try and close them down a little bit more, because they're relatively poor at passing. Closing them down more, put their players under a little bit more pressure, more than likely force them into making a few more mistakes, and we could then capitalise from that. They've conceded most of their goals in the last 15 minutes of each half, so for that reason we're going to stay attacking rather than go defensive for the last 5 minutes of the half. It's just Damien Letalic who comes in for Hope Akpan in the middle of the park, and bar that is pretty much our normal starting 11. So let's go. Half decent West Brom side. I think what's important for us is to bear in mind that Pulis' West Brom, I think, irregardless of what formation they're going to be playing, they're always going to be looking to play quite a direct game. So for us, we've got to try and keep the floor on the ball on the floor as much as possible, and retain possession as much as possible, not allow them to counter-attack. And as you can see, it's working pretty well for us so far. They're a very, very physical side, but not that good technically. They rely really on strength and utilising the big man in the box and pace down the wings. So as long as we can play our normal game, I feel like we're pretty well suited to take on this West Brom side. It's just a shame that they decided to actually pack the midfield. But it looks like we are going to approach the 45th minute mark, half time, without anything happening. And, oh no, Craig Gardner to Johnny Evans. Good clearance by Jason Steele. That's just reminded me of something, actually. Didn't go through the opposition instructions, but it might be meaningless unless we can pounce a counter-attack from here. Andre Gray leads the charge, and we said that West Brom have conceded most of their goals just before half-time. Can we prove that here live? Gouffran plays the ball to Andre Gray, who got a financial... What? Come on, ref. How's that not a penalty? Mulgrew wins the header. McLean will pick the ball up. The ex-West Brom player, of course, passes the ball to our Bosnian centre-back in Dario Dumic. Augustinson will find Andre Gray. That's what I love about Andre Gray. He just always seems all over the pitch, doesn't he? What a signing he's been for us. Gouffran now, making his way forward, finds Fabio on the overlap, who whips the ball in, and there he is. Cometh the hour, cometh the man. Andre Gray, goal machine. 42nd minute, we knew West Brom conceded most of their goals just before half-time, and we finally capitalised after dominating the first half. Nice pass from Gouffran. That's what he offers. And Andre Gray, he might only have 11 heading, but that was a phenomenal header. And Craig Dawson couldn't keep up with it. Blah, 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 blah. Today's been a bit of a shit episode in terms of speaking. I've not been able to speak. Bloody hell, you sprain your ankle and you forget how to use your mouth. Right, so what's important for us now is tell the lads not to get too complacent. And, yeah, really just go from there. Keep an eye out on whether Tony Pulis opts to change things around. I think if we hit the 60th minute, he could very well stick a second striker on. And that second striker would be Batshuayi, who offers a lot of pace. So if Batshuayi does come on at any moment, we're going to have to make sure we're prepared to counteract that happening and obviously change our defensive line. So I'm going to switch to control rather than attacking, simply because I feel like that'll help us play even safer. Oh yeah, opposition instructions. So just to discuss why I did certain opposition instructions. Marking Rondon pretty tightly. I don't mind marking a single striker tightly because you don't have to worry about another player running off him. I'm not really worried about Cafu and Chadley as well. Pretty pacey players, but not that pacey enough to really cause us problems. Obviously, trying to show Chadley on his weaker foot because he's very good technically. But because they went with the 3 in midfield, Craig Gardner's come to the side when normally they just play Jacob and Morrison as 2 in midfield. So because Gardner and Morrison are 2 quite playmaker-y style players, they're not exactly the strongest, hence why we're going in hard on them to try and really limit them. And sometimes going in hard on players can kind of wind them up, and Morrison's already on a yellow card. And Johnny Evans has had really poor form all season, basically, so I've just basically decided we should try and tackle him hard and close him down and hope that we can force him into a mistake, really, particularly when you've got a player like Andre Gray up front. But that's it for opposition instructions. Not really seen them play too much of a significant part so far, based off of what we've seen. Damien Letalic looks a bit knackered, so it's probably about time that Hope Akpan, the Superman, comes on. And, you know, just freshens things up in midfield. Go for a cheeky team talk as well. Just demand more of the guys. Where are they? There we go. Well, where is it? Demand more of the guys. Make sure they stay awake. And we've done pretty well. 63% of possession. We've come to hold on to the ball, you know, to play it on the floor. And Tony Pulis really is yet to really even go with 2 up front, approaching 65th minute. Fabio is injured, which is not good for us. We'll keep him on for a fair bit more and see what happens. It looks like Jason... Oh, and now Goof... So, right, so it seems like it's going to be a proper Tony Pulis approach here. Can't beat us, so they're going to try and injure all our players instead. And that's just what a shit injury. Elliot Bennett out for 6 weeks because of doing something in training, who's kind of a right-wing player for us. And now both Fabio and Gouffran are injured, so it does seem like we're going to have to bite the bullet and basically bring on both Conway and Jason Lowe. So for that reason, I'm going to drop our defensive line because of the lack of pace that Jason Lowe brings into the equation. I'm going to play with a lower tempo and try and frustrate the opposition a little bit more. And can't really do much more than that, can we? I'll modify Danny Graham to be more of a defensive forward to try and give us a little bit more men behind the ball. And see what happens from there. Don't really feel like West Brom are going to do much, to be honest. Dembele has come on, but it's a direct swap for Rondon. So the fact that we dropped our defensive line should hopefully mean we're going to be okay. But it does seem like West Brom are going to try and create something here. So ball gets passed back to Corker, who plays the ball to Dawson. Jacob picks it up and plays it out wide to Jonathan Cafu. We're trying to get this ball back now, but this is nice play from West Brom. Not really seen them do much of this all game. And I really hope we don't throw it away here. Steele, you've got to come off your line. Steele has got to come off his line and collect that. And, well, we're really lucky with that. And we've already seen the problems that Dembele has really caused us. So what am I going to do now? I'm going to tell the lads to be a little bit more disciplined, get stuck in a little bit more, and actually close down a little bit less, as well as going for a normal defensive line. Getting rid of the offside trap. Against a pacey player like Dembele, you don't want to really take that risk. And we're also going to drop down to a defensive mentality and try and waste time. Yeah, we've got 20 minutes to go, but I've got faith that we'll be able to see this out.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
He plays that ball into the box, and that happens. Okay, higher tempo, more direct. Don't bother with that. Just pump the ball up to bloody Danny Graham. Right. Okay. Higher tempo. Pump ball into box. More direct. Sometimes. Okay. Go. And hope for the best. Craig Conway not able to keep up with Cafu. And the fact that Dembele had the time to turn. Steele, you've got to save them. Steele's got to save them. And unless we score now, I feel like we've let what should be quite an easy 3-point slip. Very, very poor pass from Craig Conway. Normally quite an important player for us, but not really looked the part.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
And he was playing poorly, but he scored! Craig Conway gets the goal. That's not the first time I slag off a player and he proves me wrong. Right. Park this bus. Or as Mourinho would say, don't even park the bus, park the goddamn plane. Retain possession, hold on to that effing ball. Oof. Yeah. What a strike, Craig Conway. Commentator calls him a genius because it was a genius goal. Credit where it's due to Lenihan. Being in the right place at the right time. Great anticipation from him to anticipate that Andre Gray or one of the defenders would manage to head that ball back. And going that extra little bit direct actually worked for us there at the end. So awesome stuff. 20 seconds to go. And surely now West Brom ain't going to ruin it. Lenihan picks the ball up, hoops it forward. And go on, Danny Gray. Danny Gray? Danny Gray? Graham? Danny Graham? Gray? Yeah. Danny Gray. If Andre Gray and Danny Graham had a love child. But there we go. 2-1 win against West Brom. Get in there. Well done, lads. Good win. Let's try to be a bit positive about it. There we go. 5th place. Draw against Newcastle. Important win against West Brom. And like I said, those two teams are going to be important because, you know, they're floating in and around our area. They're fighting for a Europa League spot against us this season. So awesome that we are now in 5th place. Only 1 point behind Man City, 2 points behind Southampton. Now United and Arsenal, they're pretty much in a two-legged race here. It's like La Liga, it's like Real Madrid and Barcelona running after each other at the moment. So we're not going to be able to catch up with them. But you know what? If we can just keep up this form and take points against the teams that are around us. We've already played Chelsea twice and beat them twice. We lost last time around against Watford when we were the better side. If we can beat Watford again, even if we lose to Man City and beat Southampton, because I feel like Southampton and Watford are teams we can at least manage a point against, then who knows what might happen. But again, we still have teams like Liverpool, Leicester, Tottenham that could end up making a late surge into the top 5. Gouffran's out for 2 weeks. I tell you, injured kicking the ball. I tell you what, though, it could have been a lot worse, I think, for Gouffran. He's a very important player for us. He's getting on a little bit, but as we saw early on in that game, playing that ball wide to Fabio, very important player for us. We are unfortunately second in the league as far as injuries are concerned. And to be fair, it has to come around eventually because we didn't have that many injuries early on in the season, and Fabio's only out for 2 weeks as well. So could have been a lot worse, I think. Could have been a lot worse. West Brom definitely didn't help, but credit where it's due to Craig Conway. That's going to be it, guys. 2-1 win against West Brom, and we continue this phenomenal run of form that we're in. And, of course, there was the loss that I was talking about against West Brom, where Troy Deeney got a goal in the final minute. Cheers for that, Miles. But, yeah, very, very tough upcoming rest of the season. The FA Cup, we'll just take each game one by one as it comes. I'm not really too bothered by it though. I'm kind of mainly focusing on the league at the moment. Southampton up next. That's actually going to be quite an important game for the reasons we just discussed. So I might actually live com that game. Then we've got West Ham, Stoke, and then I think we might go for an episode where we'll live com Man United, and then I'll play Leicester off screen, and then maybe go for the Tottenham game. Right now it's kind of dodgy because it is transfer season. As I said earlier on, transfer budget remaining, only 605k, but it's kind of irrelevant really because we're on -20 as far as the wage budget is concerned. Really disappointed that our owners aren't willing to give us a few million just to, you know, make sure we can cement this top 5 spot, because if we could, that would be unbelievable. But until next time, I've been Kyanite. If you've enjoyed the video, feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Hopefully by the next video, I'll be able to walk without crutches, and yeah, we're second on the injury list, and we should probably be first if you take me into account. But until next time, see you later.